And my talk is about communication, earning or burning money. And what I want to do is to take you on a trip to my world of communication, and I hope you are ready for joining me. So whatever happens when you get on a plane, you get some basic information about it, what is going to happen, and I will also provide you some basic information about me. So that's me at DevOps Magdeburger Developer Days. It's also a town in Germany, and they had several talks about culture, human interaction, and also technical stuff. So you can say I'm an Agile or DevOps enabler, and I'm working for Get Next IT. And people who work with me call me an expert in human interaction, teamwork, communication, leadership. I say people who work with me call me an expert because, you know, you can't call yourself an expert. It's what other people tell what you are. So I'm also a lecturer for DevOps, Advanced Project Management and Open Source at the University of Applied Sciences in Kiel. And it's very interesting. We had last semester a bunch of master students from all over the world, so a very multicultural course. I'm speaking at several conferences. I'm an author, and actually I'm writing a book about how to debug your team communication, and you can contribute to it if you want to. You can send me your examples of bad communication you have experienced, not your bad communication, only bad communication you'll be aware of, so for sure. And you can also send me pictures of you in a nerd shirt with a cool quote on it, and I will include this into my book, so it would be really nice. If you follow me, just use this Twitter handle, Sabine Bendixen. It's my old name. And yeah, the right pronouncing of my name is Sabine Wojcieszak, but nearly no one is able to do this in first try because it's really, really difficult. It was really great, yes. My mission, I'm on a mission, and my mission is improve your communication. But why? We are all communicating since we are small babies. So we are all able to communicate. So why shall we improve communication? You all know it. When it gets to teamwork, communication, it's very essential. And Paul Watzlawick once said, we have one problem. We cannot not communicate. This is not a mistake there. It's one of his 5 axioms. We cannot not communicate. Whenever at least 2 people meet, communication starts at once, even by saying nothing. When I enter a room and someone else is there and does not look up to me or say hello or something like that, it's a kind of communication. And Paul also said that communication is a question of behavior. Communication is not only what we are saying, communication is how we behave. Because our behavior is also part of communication. We will come back to this later. So the common sense is that even in your industry, in tech industry, communication is important, right? So, who of you has ever had a workshop about communication, team communication? Hands up, please. A few, but just a few. And then when you say communication is important, there are just a few who had some workshops on it. And when we now think that most of the people who are not from the technical side think that you, as developers and operations, are not the kind of people who really love to communicate, yeah? It's not your core business, but that's okay. So for me, communication is very important for the success of teamwork. And as soon as communication becomes important for the success, it is about money. When we talk about communication, we talk about money at the end. And with communication, you can burn money or you can earn money. And that's what we will discover on our trip. So, What I experienced, especially in the tech industry, is that the common sense that communication is important is not common practice overall. You know that it is important, but what can we do about it? I don't know. So we don't do anything, so that's okay. Most of the time, when we are called in to help out of the bad situation, we are some kind of this. And when here's someone from the operational side, you know this firefighting. That's what we do most of the time. Because companies, teams call us in when things go wrong. So I hope for the companies who call us in before they start to work in a new way or before something bad happens and say, hey, come on and help us to start agile in a good way, would be better than being firefighter. So, our first stop. This was a quote I heard last year at a conference. We cannot communicate more. I'm sitting in a meeting for more than 5 hours each day. Sitting in meetings for 5 hours each day. I talked about how to debug your communication. I did not talk about communicate more, only better. Time for some sightseeing. Whenever you are at new destinations, you hopefully get around and see some new things, and so I will give you a chance to have some sightseeing at this quote. Is quality always a question of quantity? Concerning the case of communication? It could be. There are definitely teams who are communicating too less. But we also have teams who are communicating much too much without outcomes. They are just talking around. You gave the example in your talk with all those unstructured communication and so much communication and no one knows what the other has talked about. So communication can be a question of quantity, but it is not always a question about quantity. When someone says, we cannot communicate more, I'm sitting in meetings for more than 5 hours each day, I say you definitely need to improve your communication behavior because that could not be the meaning of work. Each day, 5-hour meetings. This was also a guy from a development team, yeah? So I asked myself, when has he time to develop something? No idea. I've made some assumptions what a meeting minute costs. Let's say it's a meeting about 5 people. An average salary about 4.5 thousand euro a month for a full-time job. In Germany, we have some add-on costs. I don't know what is in Ireland. It's about 25%, so we have an average total salary about 5.7 thousand 50 euro. This would make 2.82 euro for a meeting minute, 5 people. That's just a fact. Who thinks this is much? Who thinks this is very cheap? At the moment, it's just a fact. We will see if it's expensive or if it is cheap. What I've not calculated in are costs for resources like rooms or whatever, and the lost sales, which means the time you are not working productively on your code or whatever. This is not in this sum up. So, when I come to a company and no one knows me, and I come to an elevator and I have a few people around, I always discover this. People hate meetings. Who of you loves meetings? Okay, okay. I don't ask the other questions, so don't care about this. Whenever I enter an elevator or I'm at the Mensa or whatever, people always talk about the bad meetings. They are a waste of time. They are so disturbing. I have to do my job and now I have to go on a meeting. They are so boring. I always fall asleep when I'm at a meeting. We don't get results out of our meetings. And they are always beating around the bush in the meeting. No outcomes. Okay. 2.82 euro per minute for this. I think then it becomes expensive because a meeting is not 1 minute. Yeah? And when we have meetings which are boring, which are beating around the bush, I promise you they are not only 5 minutes long. They take much, much longer. So, effective ways to burn money with meetings. No agenda, that's all the stuff you know. No obvious purpose, I think that's very important. You call in the meeting and there's no obvious purpose. No one is prepared for the meeting. There's only one person talking in the meeting, and the others are hopefully listening or just sleeping around. If there is a meeting, no one cares about the meeting. You can write down a lot, but we talk about other things. People come in late. There is no one who cares about the time. We have not the persons of interest there, those persons who are important for this meeting. We are just calling in all the people we always call in when we do a meeting. The meeting is much too long. No one contributes to the meeting. Everyone is sitting there and just consuming. Perhaps you have no values, principles, and rules for the meeting. There's no feeling of trust, so I don't like to say my honest opinion. It's not my meeting, so I'm not responsible for it, so why should I change anything? And we have no outcomes, except one thing. Loss of motivation and engagement. When you are having a lot of things to do and you have to go to a meeting you are not interested in, which is boring, you will feel demotivated and you don't have much effort, you don't spend much efforts to engage yourself. So, how can we value motivation and money? Now remember, 282 euro per minute for a meeting which is boring and which has the outcome that people who are doing it again and again are demotivated and lost their engagement. Now, is a meeting in this way cheap or expensive? Yeah. So this fact, nearly 3 euro, was just a fact, but it can be very negative when you run meetings this way. Because motivation is some kind of the game changer, especially then when it gets dirty, which means when the things are not going easy and in the right way, when you have to fix bugs, when you have to be quick in finding solutions, then you need motivated people. When you want to have innovation in your team, you need motivated people. Let me give you some examples of short meetings. One is the daily stand-up, and one is the DOR meeting, the definition of ready meeting. Both should be really short meetings, right? Last week I talked to a young lady, and she told me about a stand-up meeting in their company. They were sitting around the table, stand-up meeting, and were talking for 1 hour every day. What are they doing there? So, but the daily stand-up is something which happens regularly, and usually people know when it comes. But I'm always surprised that there are people who are surprised that now it's time for a meeting. Oh, is it time for stand-up? Okay. So, the others who are on time they waste their time on waiting on the other one. Most of them who are surprised that the meeting is there are not prepared. How should they? And then I have this quote. I love this very much in a stand-up meeting. What have you done yesterday? Oh, daily business. And what are you going to do today? Oh, daily business. I hope so. Yeah? But that does not make sense for the meeting. And so this meeting is waste. Or in the definition of ready meeting, they start to read the task within the meetings. They are not prepared. And this means we have the danger of dragging on the meetings. It's boring for the others, it's demotivating, and it's ineffective. Although these meetings should have the other effect. They should be short, they should be motivating, they should be effective. So, no meetings anymore? No. I think meetings are the best way to share knowledge, to share information, to get everyone on the bus, to reach our common goals, and that's important. Meetings are a good way to find help and to discuss everything and find solutions and avoid this Chinese whisper. Chinese whisper is very bad for teams and for companies because I think I know something, I tell it to someone else, and this person gives it to another person, adds something or left something, and so we have many, many views of reality. But which is the right one? I don't know. So, what can we do to have meetings which are effective and with which we can earn money? Before inviting for a meeting, ask, why do I want to run this meeting? Which is my purpose? Who or which roles shall I invite? What should be the minimal result of this meeting? We have to make a decision. It's not about which way this decision has to be. It's about that we have to do it. When? The best time for all, which is comfortable, which works very well with the daily business. Where? Do I always need to go to the meeting room? Is this thing I want to talk about a thing we can do it in the park? Having a walk? We are talking about running, motivating meetings, not boring meetings, yeah? And which way? Is it always me who has to tell everything, or can we have more some brainstorming or whatever? Different things you can ask yourself before inviting for a meeting. And then, what we have to do before the meeting. When it's me who invites for a meeting, I can add the last meeting minutes to the invitation. I hope that everyone has read them when I sent them out, but to remember, I sent them with the invitation, so that's only me who has to search for it and not all the people I invited. Saves my time. Prepare yourself as the facilitator and the attendee as well. Look at the agenda and prepare yourself. And what is my role in this meeting when I'm invited? Why me? And when I can't answer this question, why am I invited? Ask, so that you get an idea of it. Perhaps it's a mistake. This could happen. And someone invited you because you invited always you. But you cannot contribute to this meeting, and perhaps you are not that important for it. And what can I contribute? And which is my goal out of the meeting? When I'm at a meeting as an attendee, I can also have goals, but I have to fix them for myself so that I can reach them. The meeting itself, be on time, yes, this is common sense, but I always know it's not common practice. Speak up and ask. When you have a question, when you are not of the opinion, say it. Have you meeting values and principle? If not, it's a good idea to work on it. Avoid disturbances from the outside, which means phone calls also are really, really dragging on the meetings. Also checking emails during a meeting. Yes, I want to save time for myself, and there's some boring stuff, I can check all those emails, but it's disturbing the meeting itself. But inside disturbances are very important and have priority. When I see someone is not listening anymore, ask why. When there's someone who is always talking with someone else but not contributing to the topic, ask why. This is important. Make clear that you have those disturbances. Team meetings are a question of team culture, and they are a question of trust. When we have a trust environment, we can say that it's not okay what's happening there in the meeting, and we can speak up. And show appreciation for all the people around, for all the people contributing, for all the people interested in. Contribute when you are invited, contribute. Try to reduce waste. You are all familiar with lean and TPS production systems, so you know what waste is. Reduce waste. Keep it short and simple. And feel responsible for the outcome of the meeting, even if you are an attendee and not the facilitator. We all in a team are responsible for what happens. So what is disturbing, or who is the judge about what is disturbing? In teams I work with, we have some kind of referees. And we have the yellow and the yellow and red cards. And we give them to team members. And they can show up when something is disturbing. So it's not my decision what is disturbing. I could have another point of view. But it's the team or the decision of the teammates. And it works very well. It's also for people who are talking too long. When you have set fixed times, 2 minutes per each or something like that, and someone is talking and talking and talking, you smile, you know this? You can have someone with a red card or with a yellow card, and they can show up. And so it's not always the facilitator who is judging about the disturbances, but it's the team in the meeting, and this works very well. It's also a kind of contribution. After the meeting, read the meeting minutes for sure. We do that all, don't we? I always remember the guy with 5 hours each day in meetings, and when he gets meeting minutes, when will he read the meeting minutes? I don't know. Work on agreed tasks. That's what you are doing. That's why you are doing the meetings. And ask questions, things which are not clear or which had come to you later. And add comments and give feedback to improve your meeting. So some kind of post-mortem for the meeting could be. And when you run meetings in this way, I promise you, you will be happy, inspired, motivated, and everything is fine to you. Then meetings are not boring anymore, and they are productive and effective. So then you can ask your question again, are our meetings a good or a bad invest? That's up to you. You have to think about this. Our second destination. We have solved our communication problems. We have tools now. I may add digital tools now, okay? Have you ever heard something like this? We have tools now. Now our communication is very well. And is it? Communication is a question of behavior. And for communication tools, we also need a special behavior. I will show you an example. Last year I was at Agile Cambridge and I gave a talk there about House of Cards. And I got a message via Twitter. Hey, I've missed your presentation and where are your slides and something like that. And I told this guy that it was the first time and I had published the link and he hadn't found the link. And so I sent the link again and I told him, okay, if you have any questions, just direct mail me. Okay? So far, so good. And then his answer. Thanks a lot. With this smiley. And I said, what has happened? Did I made a mistake? Okay, I'm not a native English speaker, so perhaps I had a mistake in what I wrote. I don't know. And I guess at this point, most of the people would have quit this conversation because they say, okay, I offered my help and I got this back. Yeah, for me, it's a smiley which is making a joke upon me. That's my interpretation of this smiley. By the way, someone here from Facebook? No, okay, then I can tell this. 1.5 weeks ago, I was invited to a conference of Facebook, and there was the head of sales from the DACH region, all the German-speaking countries, and she told us that in the future, we should all communicate with our customers with these smileys, because that's the only way of communication in the future. And I thought of this example, and I said, oh my God. I hope we have learned to use the smileys in the exact way, and all our customers have the same understanding of this, because my understanding of this is totally different to what he explained me later. I will show you this later. So, components of communication. We have several parts of communication. One is the verbal part, which is all about our words we are using, the sentences we are forming, the language itself. And we have the non-verbal part of communication with two subparts, paraverbal and body language. Paraverbal is all about our voice. What we are doing with our voice, how loud we are speaking, how fast we are speaking, the sound of our voice, articulation, the speech melody. This is the paraverbal communication. And we have the body language. The body language is everything you see. Communication and see, okay. Most of the people think communication is a thing you hear, but it's also a thing you see. We have the facial expression, our gestures, the body posture. We have the eye contact, which is very important in communication. We have a part, we can't see that, but we experience this. It's this body chemistry. It's the oldest part of communication. And for sure, we have the clothing. With clothing, we can communicate. We can show that we want to be part of a group or not part of a group, and if things are important for us or not. So communication is far more than just the word. What's interesting about is the question of the impact of these different parts. Only 7% of impact in communication is the impact of words. Only 7%. 8% is the impact of our voice. And you're all good at math. 55% is the impact of body language. So all those digital communication tools just have the 7% impact of words. That's the reason why the smileys came up, because we want to add some kind of facial expression to the words, but it only works if you all have the same understanding. I've made an experience in my advanced project management lecture at the university. We had the topic self-organizing teams. And we had 145 students for 14 teams, and they worked together for 4 months. And I told them to use Slack and Freecamp for their teamwork period, so that I am informed what's going on in their teams. I told them, use Slack and Freecamp. I need to see what you are doing, because what you are doing is part of the grade. What happened? They used WhatsApp. Although they knew that I have to see what they are doing because it's part of the grade, they started to use WhatsApp, and I don't use WhatsApp anymore. So In some groups, I didn't get aware what they are doing during the teamwork period. I can't grade it. But I have to give a grade at the end, so it's only about the presentation they have to give, not about the teamwork and the contribution itself. They were more familiar with WhatsApp than trying to find out what Slack is and FreeCamp. But now think about the age of these people. Young people, young students, which are familiar with finding out about new apps. When I'm working at a company, I do not always have those youngsters who are familiar with all those modern apps. I have also people who are working with tools for years. And it's even harder for them to change. So, burning money with collaboration tools is then that you choose a tool which has no acceptance in the team. The team has no obvious purpose why the team should work with it. You haven't talked about the purpose. Or they are not prepared for using it. They don't know that you can destroy a lot with the wrong smiley, for example. The tool does not support the team, the way the team is working together. And no one reads what is written down on all those different channels. And if no one reads, why shall I share anything? So it's a waste of time. And I find some workarounds. In this example, use WhatsApp instead because they're more familiar with it. What I have experienced in some teams is as soon as they introduce some digital tools, they stop to communicate directly. There's someone sitting at the desk overhead and just tipping into the chat and do not talk anymore. No values, no principles, no rules for them, no feeling of trust, no feeling of responsibility, and no outcome. And when you have those tools and nobody uses it, it's also demotivating because you have made up your mind, what shall we use, and no one uses, or you put in content and no one reads it, and it does not work, it's demotivating. No collaboration tools? No, I think collaboration tools are a good add-on to direct communication, and they could be a good way for sharing, especially helpful when we are talking about distributed teams or people who are working on remote. Then we need some kind of this. But what can we do to do it more effective? Find the best match. And this does not mean to find the tool all the competitors are using. Find the tool which supports your way of working together. This could be a choice that is not the coolest tool at the moment, but the best for you. To find the best tool, you have this get your boots on mentality. You need to go around, see different points of view from your colleagues, and then you can find the best match. You have to talk about individual and team benefits of using it. Why do we do this? What is the purpose of it? And it might sound silly, but some kind of code of conduct or etiquette is a cool idea for it. When you look at conferences, you always have some code of conduct. When you look at the IRC meetings, you have a code of conduct and etiquette. So why not for your own team, for your own collaboration tool you want to use? And ask if this supports your team culture and if your trust is good enough to use it and speak open in it so that you can contribute and that you can reduce waste and that you can be responsible for it. And I hope you will be inspired, motivated, and happy when you have a tool which supports your way of work and which everyone really uses and which gives a good help to your daily work. The more people are motivated, the easier it is to start using collaboration tools effectively, because then everyone is keen on trying out. So my solution for this situation was that I asked him, what was so funny about that? Did I make a mistake? Not funny, those are tears of joy, no sarcasm and so on. And I said, okay, then sorry, but that's my way. I ask if something seems unclear to me. So just remember, most of the people would have quit at the point where the smiley came in. And then you can't change the thing anymore. It has gone wrong, and it's not to repair anymore, I guess. And now imagine this happens on your team chat. And someone quits the chat, and no one has an idea why. The third stop. We really appreciate that idea, and we would love to do that, but we don't have time for it now. Do you know this? We don't have time for it. Yeah. We have had him this morning already. What I discovered when I start to work in your industry, in the tech industry, you are some kind of people who want to get a mastery level of everything. Yeah? Become masters of everything. And that's cool. I like this. But to become a master in communication takes so much time. It is not just going on to a workshop, for example, NLP workshop, and become an NLP practitioner or something like that. This is just the theoretical knowledge, and then you need so much time to practice it. So when I meet people in the tech industry who are interested in communication, most of them spend a lot of time and a lot of money to become masters of communication. By visiting a lot of workshops, by reading a lot of books, but the time is the thing you need for it. I'm working with people since 1991. Yeah? So it's really a long time. And they are always able to surprise me. So a lot of people want to do everything on their own, and they have this all or nothing mindset. When we want to improve our communication, we have to improve all. And if this does not work, then we don't do anything. So this is some kind of monolith thinking. Yeah? Communication as the whole monolith. And when we want to improve, we have to improve all, or we don't do anything. Okay. But with this mindset, you waste a lot of time and money. With the belief in becoming experts, you will not be successful on the short run. When you take this as the best excuse for every situation, you will minimize your outcomes of meeting. You will minimize the impact of feedback. You will stew in your own juice the whole time. Improvement will go down because we don't have time for it now. Sharing, it's part of improvement, no time. And it's a feeling of being in a hamster's wheel. Yeah, we really want to do this, but we don't have time for it now. Later. And then just think, what are you going to do later? This is a really big mountain. I think Mount Everest will be curious about that. So, what about your values, principles, and rules in the team? What is about the feeling of trust when you come in and bring an idea and say, oh, it's great, but we don't have time for it now? Will you speak up again when you hear this again and again and again? No time? No. Do you feel responsible anymore when your teammates always say, yeah, that's cool, but we don't have time for it anymore? So why should I make up my mind about improving everything? Doesn't make sense. It's a waste of time to make up my mind. So, what is with your team culture? And again, we have this outcome of loss of motivation and engagement. When I have good ideas and I deliver this to my team, and the team always says, no time for it, good idea, then I won't deliver anything. Take an easy step approach. It's like delivering some new features, not the whole thing, but just small features. Okay, let's have a look at our meetings. And then we are working on our meetings. And then perhaps we are working on how we give feedback. And perhaps then we are working on how we use our digital tools. Easy step approach. And concentrate on your core business. You are software developers or operation people. You are not the communication specialist. And if you have problems, or before you have problems, ask for help from outside. They are people which are specialists in them. It's much easier for you to do your work and have someone there who can help you. Good ways are on working on pairing or feedback for starting this journey. And work on your values and principles, because they are important to make it obvious which purpose communication has to your team success. Team culture and trust are that important. They are basic for good communication. And then be responsible for what happens in your team. We all are responsible for success or failure. And again, you will be inspired, motivated, and happy. That's why I enjoyed your talk so much, because you have all those problems mentioned there. What can you do to start? Whenever you have the impression that there is a problem within the team communication, do one thing. Pull the ending cord. Who is aware of the ending cord? What this means? Okay, the ending cord is from the Toyota production system. Whenever a problem arises, someone can pull the ending cord and everything stops. And all the people have to work on solving this problem. And this is very efficient. When you get aware that there is a problem within the team communication, pull the ending cord and fix the bug. The bug in your communication. That's the good start for all. And not to say, oh, something went wrong. So, yeah, I know this, but we can't do anything about it. Talk about it, fix it. Thank you.